my friends. Welcome to Sorta Brilliant, a show where the characters are made up and Hogwarts house sorting absolutely does matter. My name is Rachel.
And I'm her best friend and co-host, Lauren. Every other week, we're going to invade a fandom and determine whether your favorite character belongs in Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, or Slytherin. There's bound to be some arguments along the way.
But in the end, we're always right.
Well, according to us.
According to us.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another week of sorting. I am not going to put on a Scottish accent, but we are here to talk about the Scottish show. If nobody knows what we're talking about, I can't help you. It's the only Scottish show on right now, to my knowledge, that people care about. So they get naked, they fuck, there's a lot of time travel. Everybody's looking at me weird like that's not what happens on the show, but it is. My mom is a huge fan, and my dad gets upset about it because he only appears in the living room when there's a sex scene on. So he calls it her porn show. Yeah. So anyway, we're talking about Outlander, and Rachel and I don't know anything about Outlander, so we have a special guest with us today. Her name is Hailee. Yay! Hi, Hailee. Introduce yourself.
Hi.
Hello.
I was
Hailee?
told that I needed to come on here and do a Scottish accent.
Rachel,
That's right.
Rachel tried hazing, but then she also chickened out on her own thing.
It wasn't hazing. I was completely dedicated to the bit. I'm always dedicated to any accent. But then I started talking like it. And I want to say donkey because I sound like Shrek. So I shouldn't go any further with it. Oh, like Merida. No, it's still Shrek. Sorry.
Mine probably isn't good. Nope, that one was British.
That was English.
That was
this
British.
is the second week in a row that we
English
butchered that part of the country or that part of the world and their accents. And
that's
then,
my bad.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. Last week was all what? Lady whistle down. But anyway, yeah, Outlander. This is our first, what we like to call shit sorting episode. So we invited Hailee on as our resident expert. And I guess we'll start the show. Hailee, how the heck do we know you?
Twitter.
All right. Fairly short answer.
True.
It's true. I actually haven't met Rachel before in person. I don't remember how Lauren and I met other than it was at a con.
For what show?
For Supernatural. I was trying not to loop everything into that show like it always happens.
It will be a surprise to nobody that all of our friends are going to come from this show.
Yeah.
Well,
that's true.
Yeah.
We tried.
And the characters are like a touchstone for sorting. So, sorry if you expected anything else from this podcast. I don't think we've ever lied about it. But yeah,
Once an episode, it's got to be mentioned.
Yes, true.
Well, there we go. Box checked.
That was the only time. But yeah, Hailee.
No, it'll come up again. Watch.
Did we? Hailee, did we know each other online before we met at a con, or did we meet at a con and then we followed each other? I don't remember.
I don't know. Billy, maybe? I don't know.
Billy? I don't follow Billy Moran.
No,
yes,
not Billy. Illy.
Oh, Illy. Oh, yeah. Because Illy is a fandom artist, and Hailee is very good friends with Illy. And I'm friends with Illy and enjoy her art. So that's probably how. And also, Hailee didn't live far away from where I used to live, so we traveled in the same convention circles when that was still how life functioned. But
they're trying to be really thorough about it, but really it's just Supernatural. It's all because of Supernatural. Okay. And if you could see the background of Lauren's Zoom right now, it's all Supernatural.
Yeah, that's what my bedroom wall looks like.
Do I need to start showing you mine with my calendar and then my ops over there?
I'm wearing an Alexander Calvert shirt right now. I mean, it's all Supernatural trash here, okay? We're going to venture into Scotland, but they've done that too. Let's talk about when Sam and Dean... No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God. They did go to Scotland. That's the only foreign place they've been to. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, that was a fairly quick one. It was easier than Meg and Carla was. This is also supposedly a Harry Potter show. And Hailee, we pretend that we have some sort of experience with sorting. Meg and Carla didn't, but we made them act like they did, but you actually do.
I do.
Do you want to talk about your experience with Harry Potter, how you got into Harry Potter, where you're at with Harry Potter now?
I watched the first 3 movies. Wasn't a big fan or whatever, but it was just, something. And then my mom was reading the 4th book to my little brother, and I started listening in about halfway through and got hooked. And then I wanted to know what happened at the beginning of that one because that movie wasn't out yet. So then I hijacked the book and then just binged 4, 5, and 6. I don't think 6 was out yet. I think 6 was about to come out. But then I started binge reading those. And it wasn't until I was doing a catch up before Hallows came out that I ever went back and actually read the first 3 books.
It's a very interesting way to
consume
consume Harry Potter. Sounds like it was a later in life thing too for you.
No,
not super late, but
I was still in elementary school.
Okay.
I was still young. Because
the 6th book was 2005, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 7 was 2007.
I know. July 7th, 2007.
At a certain point, they started lining up with when I turned their age, so it was a big experience for me. I was 17 when the 7th one came out, and I was like, oh my god, my world is ending, it's over.
It was always really trippy for me, getting to the age that they were in a certain book and being like, Harry was doing this at 14. That's how old I am now. You expect me to be doing something like that at 14?
Yes.
No. And then I got to the ages that they are in Twilight, and I was like, Bella had a baby at 18? Hell no.
That's, true. Oof. I would have had her issue too, though. I would have been so pissed off if I was turning 19 and my boyfriend was forever 17. I would have had an issue. For sure. I related
this is
to
not
her.
The Twilight episode.
Up until the teenage pregnancy, I related. She's fine. It was a teenage pregnancy. Nothing wrong with it.
It was.
It's what it is.
It was an accidental teenage pregnancy.
Of a demon baby.
Wear protection. Even if your boyfriend's a vampire. Although I don't know what vampire venom would have done to a condom. No idea.
I don't think it would have stuck in the first place.
It would have shredded.
You don't think it would have stuck?
No.
Is his dick self-lubed? Or is it
It's ice.
It's ice.
It's ice.
It's non-malleable. Like the rest of his skin.
Well, the girl's boobs probably jiggle.
So you could take a bat to it and it would shatter. It's
I didn't mean for us to get onto this topic.
You were the one who mentioned Twilight. This isn't even the Twilight episode.
Perfectly valid topic.
We're going back to 2008 Twilight versus Harry Potter discourse here.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Back to Harry Potter. We have 3 houses represented here today. Hailee, what's your house?
I am the resident Hufflepuff of this little group.
The resident Hufflepuff.
I am the resident Hufflepuff. I, growing up, did the whole, I'm a smart kid that school was easy and I like to read, so I must be a Ravenclaw, until I took quizzes, and 9 out of 10 times the quizzes always put me into Hufflepuff, and then I actually started thinking about it, and I was like, no, it's right. And I have embraced it wholeheartedly. And then these 2 read my house for filth on a regular basis. And I like to yell at them in DMs and say, stop being inside my brain.
Yeah. You're one of the ones that the quizzes get right then. That's lucky for you.
Well, it doesn't even matter if it's Pottermore or any of the other ones. It's any quiz pretty much will almost guarantee that it puts me into Hufflepuff.
That's so nice for you. You don't have an identity crisis issue.
No, not normally. That's why there was one that Lauren sent me a long time ago where it gets really in depth, and it separates into primaries and secondaries, and the secondary said I was Gryffindor. I'm like, no! There is no other house but Hufflepuff. Why are you trying to put me in a different house here? I don't know what's going on. And I freaked out and told her that it was wrong.
That's a whole level of complication that Rachel and I have never gotten into because we don't really go into that term. Basically, a primary is your motivation and a secondary is your personality. And Rachel and I have talked a lot about there can be different types of personalities within houses. It just depends on what your motivation is. Like there can be like dick Slytherins, but then there can also be really nice Slytherins and there can be annoying. Like it's just personality. So basically, Hailee, you have a Gryffindor personality. Is what that quiz was saying.
No, because I retook it the other day.
Oh, okay.
To get answers to prepare myself as research for this so that I could argue. And that time it said Hufflepuff. So I guess my personality changed because I was expecting it to do the same thing. And no, this time it said Hufflepuff.
Or you did it right this time. I gave my mom that same quiz and she got Slytherin and I asked her why she answered wrong about herself. She's not a Slytherin. Like, I don't know how she managed to do that.
I used to take the Pottermore quiz as law. So when I got Gryffindor, I was like, oh, crap, because I really wanted to be in Ravenclaw so bad. I love their colors. I think their brains are amazing. And I was like, damn it. But I knew deep down. They do. I think my house has the worst colors, so I'm always pissed about it.
The emotional houses got played. They have ugly colors. Sorry for Hufflepuff.
We just all look like bumblebees.
Yeah. You guys got the warm colors. The intellectual houses got the cool colors, which I'm partial to, so.
Well,
Me too. That's my problem.
I'm very particular about what kind of yellow that I use whenever it comes to my house merch because I prefer like a more bright.
Like a canary yellow?
Yes.
Okay.
Not a like mustard yellow, which they always try and put on all of the merch. And I'm like, this is an ugly yellow. At least give me a pretty yellow.
At least you guys both avoided the Ravenclaw problem of having the wrong colors on all the movie merch.
We are not going to be starting in on that. Because then we'll get started on the fact that the Hermione's dress is the wrong color. And
oh God. There's too much wrong actually to cover in one podcast. There's way too much wrong with everything. Oof. Not good adaptations. How does Outlander translate from book to show?
Fairly well. At least the first season they get through pretty well. The books are big. They're like Game of Thrones style big. So there's a lot that happens in a lot of detail. But you get the gist of everything. They have to simplify some things. They don't go into as much like conversation or thought about some of the actions that occur, which might make this a little bit interesting because I'm trying really hard to separate show from book here.
Yep.
But because I started with book and my entire foundation in this world is book and not show, then it's very hard for me to separate the two because I know, like, I get all of Claire's inner thoughts and feelings in the book. While you do get a fair amount in the show, they're actually pretty good about doing like little weird voiceovers and stuff for her. But I always know what she's thinking, and so I'm trying to just do show, and
you gotta
probably
keep it show.
Won't go well.
This is Hannah had an issue with this where she was like, that Marvel didn't translate the comics, so they're not the same. And we were like, it's the movie canon, Hannah. You got to sort them based on the movie canon, what they did in the movies.
And when we did Twilight, we went by the books, so that's funny. We switched it.
And I did not think about the Bridgerton books last week. Tried really hard not to. I just thought about the show.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, though, when you know more about people. But, Hailee, you're going to be the most prepared person in this episode, and that's actually the point of the episode. You're here to make us look stupid. So that's the sole purpose.
Hope so. I am very much afraid that you're going to start talking, and I'm like, go, damn it, you're right.
Our last week's episode, or 2 weeks ago, the last episode hasn't come out yet, but we say at the end that if this episode sucks, it's all on you. So just letting you know.
We didn't say it. Lauren said it.
Well,
Blame
Rachel
Lauren.
agreed with me, as she does. But so, Outlander. Obviously, Rachel and I, well, that's not true. My mother's a huge Outlander fan. Like, I already mentioned a little bit. But she's, like, in the fandom. She's going through Droughtlander right now. She called me yesterday because they're going to start filming because they built a COVID facility in New Zealand or Scotland. Yeah, but she went on for 20 minutes about how they like specifically built a COVID hospital next to the shooting, and that's I don't care. She's a huge Outlander fan. So that's my experience with it. And she really got into it before it came up on my radar. And then as soon as she was into it, I was like, no, I'm going to stay away from that. So I don't know, Rachel, what's your Outlander? You never got into it.
I have no story, no nothing. I've seen it all over social media forever. Obviously, it's very popular, very, very widely loved. I was a big Game of Thrones fan, so it was kind of always something I wanted to get into. But I don't know. The first episode didn't grab me the way the ones you recommended grabbed me, because Hailee recommended that we watch episodes 4 and 7 in the first season. And I was like, oh, damn, I like this.
Yes. The first episode is introducing you to Claire, and then it's actually like taking you back in time. And so you're left with Frank, who, I'm sorry, I can't stand Frank personally. I don't like him. Some people do. He has some okay things, but I hate Frank.
Didn't he taking a baby that isn't his? I also will say that if I were to summarize the show, it's about a lady from World War II who goes back in time, and she's already married, and then she marries a Scotsman, and then she gets pregnant and goes back and forward in time, and her husband agrees to raise the back in time baby as his own baby, but then she goes back in time again with the baby, who's now a teenager, and there's some arguing in a library in modern England.
Well, Hailee's gonna punch you through Zoom.
You just oversimplified.
Okay, but I described everything correctly.
No, because, no. You messed up whenever it came time for all of the stuff with Brianna. It's fine.
I'm assuming that's the daughter.
Yes, that's the daughter. Basically, World War II era nurse, it's post-war, so you don't have to worry about that, about, like, if she would be concerned.
Oh, no! Okay.
Yeah. So, I saw you on the Twitters doing all of your reactions and saying, but why would she even want to go back to the main time? Because it's going back to a war, it's post-war.
Or post-World War II. Still wasn't a great time.
No, but it is post-war. And the world that she's staying in is about to go into a war of its own. So, there is that. But, no, World War II era nurse who is married. She's been separated from her husband for 5 years because of the war. She was on the front lines being a combat nurse. He was in MI6 being all spy, sleuth, intelligence.
Wow.
And then they go on a second honeymoon, try to reconnect in Scotland, in Inverness, just a little bit outside of Edinburgh. And she goes up to the Circle of Standing Stones and ends up being plummeted back through time 202 years into 1743. And that's where she ends up meeting her husband's ancestor, known as Blackjack Randall, who is the definition of a sadist. But he's a really fun villain. Also played by the same guy who plays her husband in the future.
There you go, Rachel.
It is. It's the same guy.
Thank God. Couldn't figure it out. I was so upset. I was like, why is he here? Why is this man here?
Same guy. And she immediately runs into him. He attacks her, and then this group of Scots ends up saving her from him. And then they kind of take her under their wing, but the entire time they're convinced she's a spy. And then she eventually earns their trust and manages to convince them that maybe she isn't a spy, but now she's on the radar of this awful guy, and he's trying to, be awful. And he also thinks she's a spy, and so he wants to torture her and rape her and all this other stuff.
Oh, fun.
I know, he's awful.
I also use sex as punishment. Why is that? The 2 episodes we watched, we were like, man, these guys just, everybody wants to rape? Huh? That's what's going on here.
Yeah. And
well, that's what you get when you go back in time.
Yeah.
And you're a woman.
Yeah.
You're a lady.
And
Awful.
So then to save herself from being subjected to this horrible, awful man, then she has to marry Jamie.
Jamie, yes.
To save herself. And then she keeps trying to get back to the Stones to go back to her husband,
or die trying.
But over the course of all of this, she ends up falling in love with Jamie instead.
As she should.
So, Hailee had us watch, like Rachel said, episode 4 of season 1 first, which is called The Gathering. And Rachel and I, having no background to the story other than the recap that it gave, where Claire was like, I have to get back to the Stones or die trying. That entire episode, we were trying to figure out if she was, like, a captive of these people, like if she was a prisoner, because she kept kind of complaining about it, but then they just let her walk around the entire time with nobody bothering her. And also, we were like, did she tell them that she's a witch? Because that girl showed up and wanted dung as a love potion to put in Jamie's mouth or something. So we were very confused as to what was happening and what her status was within the clan. They were like, she was like, I've got to escape them. But then also they were like, hey, come to this bitch ass party. We've got an awesome dress for you. And I'll translate everything that this dude is saying.
Yes and no. She isn't really a captive prisoner. Like, she's being held against her will in the fact that she's not allowed to leave, but she still has, like, free reign of the castle and the grounds and everything. She's just under watch by the 2 Dorcas doofuses, Rupert and Angus, who are lovable idiots.
Okay. Now, why do they want her so badly? Is it because she's, like, a future healer? So she knows shit?
She knows shit, but also they think she's a spy.
Okay.
Oh.
But then, okay.
Okay, so they can't let her out of their sight.
So
spy for who? The English? How did they fall into this situation? They found her in the Circle of Stones, and they were like, no, English lady in weird-ass clothes, and she's a spy.
They found her, like, in what would be looked at as a shift for the time period. Right. So an English woman wandering around in the midst of a, like, skirmish, because the Scots were over here, and then Blackjack with his redcoats were firing at them, and it was mid-skirmish. And she just pops in nothing but her shift, right. Claiming that she's been attacked by highwaymen, and she is off to visit relatives in France, and yet they have found no, like, highway things, no kind of traveling.
Also, why would you go north from England to go to France? I guess she could be sailing for. Okay, continue. There's some ports you could sail from Scotland, but
they didn't find anyone that was traveling with her. They didn't find any luggage. They didn't find a, like, carriage or anything that she was riding in. And so a lot of her story wasn't making sense.
But she came up with it on the fly? She
did.
Okay.
But we aren't sorting her yet, so I won't bring that up.
No, I guess not.
No, but I was like, confirmed.
Yeah, me too. But I guess that isn't allowed to, we're only supposed to be looking at the episodes.
And so they think she's a spy because her story isn't, like, matching up, and for other reasons that we'll get to in a little bit, they don't trust her despite how good of a story she tells. Not even based on facts. Basically, Claire's not a good liar.
Okay.
Like, at all. And that might be book knowledge coming out but Claire's not a good liar. And so they're just like, your story isn't making sense. You're not the best at lying. We can kind of tell that you're hiding something, but we don't know what you're hiding. We think you're a spy, but we don't know if it's for the English or the French or what's going on. So we're just going to keep an eye on you until we figure out what your deal is. But meanwhile, you're really good at healing, so here, why don't you make yourself useful instead of just, like, utilizing all of our resources and hanging out and doing nothing but sitting on your ass all day.
Okay. Fair. That makes a lot more sense now.
So, that's kind of where that is into going into those episodes.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I would love to know where you sort them.
That's not how we're doing this.
Really? Because I'm looking at a guest format timeline.
Yeah, and it says Lauren and Rachel sort, and then Hailee sorts. Can you read?
Yeah, but I was just saying I'd love to know where you sort them, and I was going to continue with, but we are going to do it first, and I was going to explain, but thank you.
Rachel can't read.
Yeah, so that's definitely what happened there.
Actually,
you're right.
No, this is the thing that you've
just
told me.
Interrupted, but that was fine.
This is the thing that you tell me constantly, so I don't really think that it's my fault that you not speaking correctly made me assume that you also are having a
You could let me finish a sentence, but then you wouldn't be a Slytherin.
You finished the sentence. There was a period at the end.
There was not, and this has been recorded, so I'm going to go back and check.
Did y'all have any other questions about the episode before we get into sorting?
Definitely a period at the end. No, my biggest question was if she was like I mean, I won't even go into like how they talked about laws and shit, and like if she married somebody, then the English man couldn't have her back, and I assume that they didn't want him to have her back because they think she's a spy and she would give all the information. But that was all. Well, that was all stretching it.
That they didn't want her. Partly that, but by then they kind of trusted her. At the end of the episode before the wedding, Dougal takes her to this like sulfur spring, and you know everyone was highly suspicious and everything about back then, and thought that it was one of those, you drink the water, you tell a lie, then your innards will boil up and burn out, and so he finally at this point had trusted her enough and is just like, tell me the truth after you've drank this water. And she's like, I'm not a spy. And so then he's like, okay, finally, I trust you. Well, we don't want you to fall into the hands of this awful guy. We already know how bad he is, because...
Yeah, don't go to the English rapist. Stay with our Scottish rapist.
Well, no. The English rapist is also the one who had flogged Jamie. So all of the scars up and down his back.
Yeah, we saw those.
And so they already know what kind of an awful, horrible, sadist person he is. They have a history with him. They wouldn't want anyone to be falling into his hands, especially someone that was under their protection and they didn't think deserved it.
Good peeps.
And so, well... relative. Better peeps. We'll call them better peeps. But that is why they are just like, we'll protect you instead of letting you go with him, because we know how awful he is. And at least you won't be viciously attacked.
Also, heal us, wench, with your 1940s knowledge.
Exactly. Fun fact, in later books, she learns how to make penicillin out of mold.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Oh, Claire.
I don't know how they don't think she's a witch, but anyway.
Oh, no, that comes up too. There's another episode a little bit down the line in the first season where there's a whole, like, witch trial and everything, and... Mm-hmm. So yeah.
All right. That's one of the other comments I made. I was like, she'd absolutely have been burned at the stake by now. But anyway, Rachel, you want to, you had a visceral reaction to Claire. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I didn't like her. Didn't like her at all. I found her grating. I don't know how else to say it. I'm sorry. Just right off the bat, she was very like, my plan, it shan't be foiled, and I will get out of here, and I will blah, blah, blah. I don't remember it verbatim, okay? But it was very like, I didn't understand why she was trying to get out of there. I didn't understand her motivation. And she was very, I think Lauren even tweeted, she's pretty full of herself, huh? She, like, she really thinks she's going to make this work. And I was just getting that vibe from her. But to be fair, I made that assessment like 2 minutes in.
You also immediately sorted her based on that.
I did. I immediately knew. Well, can I say?
So based on previous episodes, then it's making me feel more confident in my sorting, even if you don't agree with it, because of your visceral reaction.
Good. So, yeah, because take into consideration it is a Gryffindor reacting, so might be a little bit different. But I just from the jump knew it wasn't not going to be an emotionally driven house. She was extremely logically thinking. She was not jumping in headfirst without weighing. She was pretty much measuring everything. She was being very, very strategic, very confident in herself. And I didn't know her motivation yet. So I initially said, maybe she's a Ravenclaw. And then we got into her motivation for wanting to get back. And Lauren said...
Oh, I just said that from the 2 episodes we saw, I saw no reason for her wanting to return except that her husband was back in the future.
Right. So that is your person that you're trying to return to, and putting those things together, wanting to return to your person, being very strategic, being very calculated in every move you're making, and not jumping in headfirst. We think Slytherin. That's our boom official ruling.
Yeah, but then there was more stuff, Rachel.
Well, you asked me to say what I first thought.
Yes, I did.
That's what I was thinking. Continue.
Continue what? You were the one
about what you think.
What?
What do you think of her? Why do you think
I thought she was I didn't immediately say Ravenclaw. I don't think I ever sorted her Ravenclaw. Rachel's just within 2 minutes of her doing her voiceover, explaining how she was going to escape, was like, this is a Ravenclaw. And I was like, okay.
I did.
And then I kept watching, and then I was like, yeah, I don't think she's an emotional house. She didn't get very emotional. She didn't remember her wedding to Jamie. She was like high or drunk or something. I don't really understand. I don't think Jamie understood either. He was like, you don't remember marrying me? And she's like, I remember putting my old ring away. And I was like, yeah, that's what you remember. So, so that seemed like Slytherin to me. And just, yeah, like the whole, her voiceover, I didn't like her voiceover either. I'm not sure that I liked Claire. I'd have to watch more of her, but the 2 episodes, I didn't really fall in love with her. Just like her whole plan and her voiceover and explaining the plan, and like talking about like, I have to turn left at this corridor at midnight and like that sort of thing. And then I'm trying to think of the other things. There was when the guy was dying because the wild boar gouged him, and she was like, telling me about your family and your childhood. And like, Rachel was like, this is so Slytherin to be lying to this poor guy just so he feels better about his death. Like
faking compassion to ease it. Yeah, I think it's fair to not immediately like a character just based off you're jumping into episode 4. You don't know what she's doing or why she's doing it. But if, I'm to judge her based just off of that voiceover and everything, it really is the way that she thinks and what the voiceover gives to you to be able to say, all right, she's very logically driven, very logically motivated. She plans very far ahead and she plans very well. Unfortunately, there's a lot of scummy, pervy men that prevent her plan from going through. But I feel like she's extremely determined. She does not deter from her goal at all. And yeah, just the way she interacts with people, especially Jamie, like when they're talking, it was such a... I can't say that without talking about Jamie, so I'm going to pause that one. But just the way she speaks, everything is so calculated. So calculated, all of it. When she like drugs them, what does the guy say? She's like, it's a sedative. And what does he say?
He said, is that Spanish? And then she was like, go share it with all your friends. And she was like, there are going to be a lot of drunk Scottish men tonight, and that's good for me. And then, like, wandered off. One of the huge Slytherin things also was, like, when she gets married to Jamie, Rachel and I were just sitting there like, screw him, do it. And she's like, she's like, my husband or the hot man in front of me. And Rachel's like, he's not even born yet, just do it. And she's like, obviously having this huge ass like internal struggle between these two people. And it's not even like, it wasn't even like a Gryffindor, like, this isn't right thing. It was literally just the fact that this guy was her husband, and she was like, I can't do anything against my husband, but also this man is super hot, and he's also my husband. And it was like this huge issue for her. Like, when, like, the end of the episode, her old ring falls out of her clothes and like rolls onto the floor, and she picks it up and she holds both the rings in her hands, and I was like, symbolism. Like,
yeah. So listen, she needed to get back to her person, and that's really, really hugely Slytherin. I mean, an emotional house would probably feel like they have to get back to their duty, their responsibility, something moral, their job if it's a Hufflepuff, their community if it's a Hufflepuff, right? She's trying to get back to one person from what we know from those 2 episodes, right? We could be wrong.
Yeah.
But that's heavily Slytherin. That's your one person. That's your that's the entirety of her circle. And listen, who's going to deny that Scottish man with such fervor?
No one.
She also like indulges everybody pretty well too. Like, whatever people need from her, she's pretty good at like playing it or whatever. Like the 2 idiot guards, she's like, oh, I'm just a little girl running around with these children. And then the lady shows up and wants like a love potion or whatever, and she like makes that up for her. And Jamie obviously needs somebody to spill all his gossipy, simpy tea to. So she's like, yeah, I'm that person. Like, is like, what did they say? And like sits on the bed and listens to a talk for like hours. And just like, and like Dougal, whatever. She like does exactly what he needs to. So she like definitely plays along, I guess, to whatever, to eventually get to the stones is what I think was going on. I couldn't tell by the end after she got married to Jamie if that was still her plan, but...
Well, I think that's the big conflict, right? Like, shit, I already did it. Now what? Hailee, quick question. Yeah. Was that potion for Jamie?
Yes, but that was
so.
Stupid. That was stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got that vibe. I was like, okay, that's probably a problem.
We don't like Leary, also known as leg hair, is how anyone who like read her name before they ever like find out how to pronounce it, it's spelled like Laughaire, and so you read it and you're like, log hair, and then you just end up hating her, and so you shorten it to leg hair. And pretty much any like book Outlander fan, you say Leary and they're like, oh, leg hair.
Got it.
Yeah, no.
I used to call Hermione Hermione.
Until she did that scene in Goblet of Fire.
Exactly, literally that one.
That's why she put
that was
it
the
in
big one for everyone.
Stupid kids like you who didn't get the book read to them by their 2nd grade teacher.
You're offending a lot of people, because let me tell you, a lot of people did not know how to say that girl's name.
I said who didn't get the book read to them by their 2nd grade teacher, which is how I knew how to pronounce her name.
Your 2nd grade teacher knew?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw the movies first, and the movies got it right, so...
Yeah.
It's another way, but yes, pronunciation.
Anyway, do you want to yell at us, Hailee?
Yes. I have my notes ready. Okay, so I could see why you would think about putting her into a logical house and not an emotional house. Because I had that same problem. I hat stalled on Claire for a while. I even consulted a friend going like, I don't know where to put her. She isn't fitting anywhere for me. I was able to roll out Hufflepuff fairly quickly because even though I relate to her a lot, I was like, this girl is not in my house. I would like her to be in my house, but no, doesn't fit. And I was able to eliminate Slytherin fairly easily. I had a problem with choosing between Gryffindor and Ravenclaw for her. And so, let me get into my notes. My one arguing about her being a Slytherin says, yeah, she's loyal as fuck. Her loyalty stems, though, from her stubbornness. Slytherin doesn't fit except for the loyalty. She doesn't adapt herself to fit the situation. In fact, sticks out like a sore thumb, which is why everyone ends up fascinated with her. Cannot lie to save her life and gets herself in trouble when she's forced to lie, and everyone thinks she's a spy. She is always very much herself, and that's why people flock to her, because she just kind of stands out and says what she thinks. She doesn't watch what she says. She doesn't hardly think about what she says. She just jumps into things with no regard for safety or anything. The only thing that she planned out was that fucking escape. That is the only thing this woman has planned in her entire time of being on the show. So maybe I did not choose the right episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't get a sense that she was a bad liar from either of those episodes.
Me neither.
Like, all the times that she actually told people stuff, like she was talking to that lady about how she had a husband, she was like, is he dead? And she was like, well, he's not around. And she was like, so he's dead. Like, she was, but like, it was in the sense that you could say that stuff and it would be okay. Or like, it's not calculating, but sometimes Slytherins don't lie because there's no reason to. It takes a lot of energy.
In those 2 episodes, she seemed to adapt very well to her surroundings.
Also, Slytherins can be stubborn. We're stubborn about the end goal. Like, if we want the thing at the end, we reach the end. It doesn't matter how you get there, though.
Lauren's the most stubborn person I've ever met in my life, so they can be stubborn.
Let's see. She has one quote in a previous episode that says, I was under the impression we were discussing morality, not politics. And she has another voiceover in the pilot that says, my wisest course of action would be to keep my head down and my mouth shut. And then she sees someone about to fuck up fixing a shoulder dislocation and immediately calls them out and is like, no, you idiots, let me do it instead.
That sounds like a Slytherin.
Yeah, to me it just sounds
I'm good
like
at this thing. How dare you screw it up in front of me?
Yeah, to be honest, it sounds like pulling errant thoughts out of anyone from any house could have those thoughts, right? But I think I want you to look at her motivations, what's motivating her throughout at least that first season, because we really can only go off of those 2 episodes, right? We only know this version of Miss Claire. I don't know how she develops later, but what's motivating her? What's her reasoning for being at this point?
She wants to get back to her time. So yeah, I could see where you were right about her having the one person that she's trying to get back to.
Is that really the only reason she wants to get back? She doesn't really...
She wants to get back to him mostly, but then she also knows that this is a very, very dangerous time for her to be in. A war is about to start. And she doesn't know these people. Everyone is attacking her from both sides. She doesn't feel safe. She's like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And the only reason why she's able to do as well as she does is because she grew up with her uncle who was basically like an archaeologist digger. And so that's why she has some sort of like knowledge of roughing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then her being a healer in war times is also helpful in knowing like how to heal for that time period, because you didn't always have all the supplies that you needed. But so those are like her main motivations, but really it's just, I don't belong here kind of thing.
Right.
There's another point in, I think it's the 3rd episode, where she is like, there's a kid who's sick and everyone thinks that it's like a demon, and she runs in without thinking about her actions and is just like, no, I'm going to end up fixing this kid because he's actually been poisoned instead, and is trying to like heal him, and people aren't letting her because they think he's a demon or like been possessed or something. And it gets her into trouble because she's going against the priest in the village, and, you know, everybody's superstitious and all of this other stuff, and she doesn't think about what she's doing, which made it a very, like, Gryffindor kind of action for me, because that's not a logical thing. If a logical thing would be to say, hey, no, maybe I shouldn't, like, interact with this, but she's like, no, I must fix them because it's right, and I must heal them because this is what I'm supposed to do. I have to be the person that does all this healing, and jumps in without, you know, thinking about it.
So obviously I haven't seen this, but when I understand where you're coming from, that it's like a morality thing, like I want to do the right thing, but both things so far have been in her, like, field of speciality, where she's like, I'm good at this, I'm the best one at this. So it's making me think a Slytherin would probably lose most sense of, like, is this the best choice for me, when people are like acting wrong in front of them about something that they're really knowledgeable about.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds very much like she's trying to prove the stupid people wrong because she knows best there. Just
not
so
even just prove them,
Slytherin.
but like, this kid's gonna die in front of me because of some 1700s Christianity
stupidity.
bullshit.
Yeah,
it's not. That's not the case at all.
Let's see.
Does she ever have any angst about, like, maybe I shouldn't be changing things, or is the butterfly effect not?
Yes,
Okay.
a lot.
Okay.
A lot. Because the entire second book is all about,
is this also like second season?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. All of the second everythings, is all about them going to Paris to try, and it's them trying to head off the war before it starts, to see if they could change anything.
That doesn't sound smart.
Well, it's either that or everyone that they know and love dies, and the entire Scottish way of life changes and is basically non-existent, and the clans get wiped out and all this other stuff.
But that isn't what actually happens in history.
Yes.
Oh, is it?
Uh-huh. The Jacobite Rising of 1745, with everything on Culloden Field, and that battle and that, like, devastation completely, like, there are no more risings after that. The clans are basically wiped out. They stopped the wearing of tartans, like, they couldn't wear their whatevers anymore.
Lads.
They couldn't, they tried to stop the speaking of the Gaelic language. And it was like a complete massacre in the Highlands. By the British, by the Redcoats.
Well, now I'm wondering, because that sounds like a stupid thing to change. Well, like, not for them in that time, but for her future. That's not something that you should mess with.
She ends up consulting a priest about it at one point, of like, do I have the right to try and change this? Is that something that is like even something I could do? And then the priest tells her, everyone that you heal, that you save, you've already changed everything just by being here.
Right. At this point, is she planning on staying? She's not trying to go back anymore?
At that later point, yeah.
Okay, so now this sounds selfish. All right.
The fact that she's even questioning that to such a level makes me think that's not an emotion house, like, at all. I don't know. I feel
no,
like
I was just thinking, I was like, if she was still planning on going back and then she was doing this, that might be less Slytherin, but she wasn't. So.
No, not at all.
She's like, I got my life here now. Fuck 1940.
I also just wanted to say, to your point earlier where you said she was thinking, I have to be the one to save this kid. I'm the only one who knows what I have to do. Are you familiar with the Chosen One complex?
Hailee listens
yes,
to our show.
I am. She, like, the way I was describing it could sound like that, but that's not necessarily the way it's portrayed.
Okay.
It did sound like we were getting a little bit there, that she's going to a priest and she's like she's the one factor changing everything, but the fact that she's like touting it around in her heart like that.
That's just because she ends up befriending the priest while Jamie is healing from a major, awful, horrific torture session due to Blackjack Randall that he basically died from. Yeah. We won't get into that.
Can I ask why you thought Ravenclaw? Like, what's making you think maybe Ravenclaw?
She really did present like a logical house in a lot of things until I got to the point where I just kept seeing her immediately, like, no thought to her words or actions, just like firing off things at people, and then immediately her mouth getting her into trouble or her actions getting her into trouble. And she does this a lot. Like, a lot. And there's one point where she throws a fit about the men on the road interacting with, they call it the Watch, who the Watch had been like stealing someone's food or whatever. And then she was just like, no, I'm eating stolen food and I refuse to eat this and I can't believe you would be doing that. And Claire's like, she says, so I'm just supposed to stand by and watch? And Jamie's like, and not judge things you don't understand. Stay out of it.
So she's judgy.
See,
the agenda here is to convince Hailee that a show she's been watching for however many years, we know better in 2 episodes.
I'm going off the work she gave me, okay?
Hailee messaged us last night and was like, I'm gonna get all these quotes and stuff so you guys can't convince me that I'm not right.
You're trying to do it so hard.
Is it succeeding? Are we putting any holes in your...
I was prepared to fight against Ravenclaw, not Slytherin. Like, even all of my notes about just plain old Gryffindors, are, like, ready to fight against
It's so funny,
Slytherins.
too, because Gryffindors and Slytherins are actually a little closer than Ravenclaw, in a lot of aspects. And, like, almost in the way they fight is much more similar. Like, Rachel and I always talk about how, when we come down to Hufflepuffs and Gryffindors, we look at the way we fight. And then, of course, you know, emotional houses versus intellectual houses. So Ravenclaws are closer to Slytherins in that way. But I think when you look between the emotional houses and the intellectual houses in the way that they fight, it's actually Slytherin, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw that are a little closer. So,
and I also think what's funny is that you've taken 2 aspects of her personality. You've taken the logic and the heat and the passion. You've taken what those houses have in common with Slytherin, and you've picked the 2 that they have in common with. You just have to smash them together and get Slytherin.
I don't know.
You're feeling it. You're feeling it. Come on over.
I knew this was going to happen, that we would get here, and you guys would come at me, and I would end up caving immediately, because I'm not good at fighting. I don't like confrontation.
Okay, Hufflepuff.
It's
Only Hufflepuff's allowed on this show from now on.
Yeah, what was Meg? I'm a Hufflepuff and then screaming at us about Regina for like 5 hours.
Yep. I love you guys. it's not confrontational, right? Like, we're not going to have a big... That's me and Lauren's thing. Like, we'll fight to the death.
Our friendship will end.
Yeah, but it'll be okay. Like, don't worry. If you really don't...
And is like, I pouted for an hour. It's fine now.
Right.
I had even written, like, I see a lot of Hermione and McGonagall in her, where she's, like, right on that line of, very fiery and passionate and smart and brave and ready to go up and do what it takes, but also you're all idiots, so sit down and do it my way. And then it's just like, me saying that just supports your freaking argument.
It's funny because people always ask, like, why is she in Gryffindor? I mean, you have all these aspects of characters that feel like they would stereotypically fit in another house better. But if you just look at their motivation and their style of fighting, that's the big hack. That's going to tell you a lot. And it seems to me from what you're telling me now.
Hack we use the fighting thing.
Yeah, it just seems to me from what you're telling me now that she just feels like she's the authority from her position, which she should, right? She's the only person there with healer knowledge.
1940, and like I know things about the past, and I also have this like healer knowledge, and whenever I talk about the Chosen One syndrome too, I'm not necessarily saying that these people shouldn't feel that way. Sam Winchester does have demon powers. Like, you know, like all this Chosen One stuff, or like, I don't even remember or Steve Rogers have the super soldier serum like shoved into his veins. Like, they have this stuff. They should feel a little high up on their horse about it. It's just the way that they wield it that is also like
they sure do run their mouths too.
They sure do, like, because we talk about it, because the only other house that I really see having although I don't remember what I called it for Gryffindors. It's not the Chosen One syndrome, it's something else. But Gryffindors are like, get it away from me. And Slytherins are like, I got this. Like, I have the tools for it. And like the 2 episodes that I saw with Claire, she was like you just telling us that she immediately came up with the story, even though it wasn't very convincing. Like every other, like, or a lot of other time travel things I see, like people show up disoriented and they're like trying to tell these people that they're from the future, or they're like trying to get in. The fact that you said Claire just came up with this whole ass story about being a highway rat, and like it was historically accurate to the time period that she figured this stuff out. She's like, I got this. I'll get back to the stones, or I'll die trying. So. Yeah,
or I'll die trying. She uses all that knowledge in a good, like, just to say, not naming any houses here, but another person from another house might have just played extremely stupid and might have just been like, hit me head, like, once they figured it out, you know, and not used their knowledge to help these people, because maybe they don't feel like I shouldn't be an authority here, like, doing this right now.
Yeah, because also she could have just been like, they're like, you're a spy, and she could have been like, maybe, and then she would have been in a prison cell. Like, I don't know. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you're right, playing stupid. And then she would have ended up in a worse position. But she's like, no, I can fix wounds. And like, yeah, I'm in my shift and I'm naked. And like within 7 episodes, she's marrying this dude that's a part of the clan, and he's hot and he's a virgin. And she got
somehow
somewhere,
hits the jackpot.
She got somewhere. She could have just sat down and ate her food in 1740 Scotland.
Her
bland, unspiced food.
No, and now it's like all of my notes, anything that would be possibly relating her to Gryffindor, all come back to the fact that, like, wow, does she have a temper. Like, you haven't gotten the chance to see her and Jamie fight yet, but oh my god, when they fight, it's a lot. Like, she holds no punches. She just goes, like, straight for it.
Well, this kind of lends into what we think Jamie is, but does she think Jamie is particularly stupid during these fights? Like, she's God, I can't believe that's your stance.
It depends on the fight.
All right, fair.
It's not as much that she thinks he's stupid as it's, like, the one that I'm particularly thinking of that ends up being a, like, big topic button issue, later, is she ends up making an escape, like, the next episode or 2.
Okay.
and manages to get almost back to the stones, in which then she is captured by the English and taken to Blackjack. And so then Jamie has to rescue her. And he goes in to rescue her without even he bluffs his way in without a loaded weapon. And
interesting.
And
she's mad about that, huh?
No, she's not mad about that. And rescues her, and then based on like, this is where the big topic thing comes into play. All of the other men that were there are not interacting with her anymore. She had created this great rapport with them, and none of them are like treating her the same. They're all mad at her. And it's his position as her husband to discipline her per the times. In which case he takes his duty to do that very seriously. And she, being a 1940s woman, is fucking pissed that he would dare,
the audacity,
lay a hand on her to discipline her, as is typical for the time period.
It's just his duty.
Gotta do it.
And
but so how dare
then she's mad at him, but it's more like, not that she thinks he's stupid, but she thought better of him, that like, oh, he would never do this to me. How dare he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn it. Why are you right?
Yeah. Sounds like a specific type of relationship dynamic.
It sure does.
Every
other point I can make right now, all the other points hinge on Jamie. They all hinge on Jamie. That's good. I have a feeling we agree on Jamie, though.
I think Hailee thinks the same. Based on the question she asked us last night, Hailee asked us if we put Claire and Jamie in the same house, and we said no. But now I think I know where she is, Jamie.
Oh, she clearly puts him in Ravenclaw.
No. No.
Hey, Rach, since this is your new boy, do you wanna start on him?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh yeah, he's one of ours. He's a Gryffindor for sure.
Hailey's not.
He walked on screen. I was like, who's this fucking Weasley? Put him right in there.
Oh no. There was never a question that he's a Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Like,
what a simp, huh?
They kept showing those scenes where Jamie like goes and talks to all the men, and then it like flashes back to him with Claire, and he's like verbatim telling her what he just talked to all the men about, and Rachel would be like, gossip queen.
I was like,
is there any other choice possible here? Like, really, he's the definition of self-sacrificing dumbass hero.
Yeah.
This fucking
even what you just said, like, he was duty bound to carry out this really shitty act, but he's such a like mama's boy slave to his morals. He's gonna do it. And I'm picking this up off of literally 2 episodes. Like,
and especially like
he wants to do this marriage properly or not at all. I plan to marry one time, and so I'll do it in a way that would make my mother proud.
We like the entire episode. He's like, I want 3 things. I want a church, I want a ring, and I want a dress. And we were like, oh my god, this woman's been married before. She's fine.
Yeah, and we've talked about this, like the different. There are different kinds of Gryffindors, different kinds of Slytherins, right? So, Lauren, I just think it's interesting. We had just talked about a Gryffindor with Edward Cullen, where it was like he's a different one than one we've ever talked about before. Jamie's the same kind of Gryffindor.
I would have to see more of him because I haven't seen him self-depreciative.
No,
he's definitely simpy. Yeah,
no, he's not.
Edward's a weird. Edward's like all the way at the end of the spectrum, because he takes that like moral righteousness and only turns it on himself, which is like so weird. But we always talk about Gryffindor paradox, and I'm sure I haven't seen this episode where Jamie was like, now I have to beat my wife, but I'm sure he was like, I like Claire and I don't necessarily want to hit her, but I'm going to.
Took those whippings though, didn't he?
Well, there is a quote where she calls him out for like in the middle of this fight for liking it or something like that. And he says something along the lines of, I said I have to do it. I did not say I was not going to like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. More Gryffindor. That was a really clear one.
Oh, yeah. That one was
interesting.
Simple. I forgot I had written this down.
Yeah, and also when the first episode, Rachel and I were trying to comprehend what the hell was happening at that like ceremony that they did, where like he had to go pledge his allegiance or whatever, and they were like explaining to Claire what was happening too, and we were trying to understand, but that he would have been fine if he had stayed in the stables, but he escorted her back, and that's why they were able to like force him into it, and we were like, that's a Gryffindor thing.
And then he has to like toe the line in the smallest margin of middle ground possible in order to not get like killed by either of his uncles, and just manages to play it right.
Yeah, he was like, I was like, Rachel, he basically just said like, I'll like be a part of your clan, but I ain't nobody's bitch or something. And I was like, that's pretty Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he has the loyalty to his own clan in his own name. He's the laird of his own house.
Right.
And he can't like say he'll be okay with pledging his allegiance to this other house because it's not his. Like, that's not okay. I can't declare my allegiance over here because this isn't my house.
It would be morally wrong. Gryffindor!
And then, there's another entire thing that, like, I was almost chose a different episode just so you could see Jamie do this. But then I was like, how many instances do you need to know, like, be shown to prove
nothing? We knew immediately
what Jamie was. So, leg hair that we do not like. She gets brought before the laird to be disciplined for like immoral behavior or something like that. And so then Jamie steps up and like takes her beating for her.
Okay.
And his excuse for doing that was because it would have disgraced her in front of the entire clan, and he's a man, and it's not a big deal for him to be like beaten up as a punishment, and so he just takes it. And he doesn't know this girl like at all, other than like, hey, and then he's just like, no, I must step in and take her place because we do not want her to be disgraced. And there's another one. I'm like, I don't know why I'm trying to prove this.
You don't have to convince us. Yeah, I mean, the way that Claire and Jamie act together too was just like a huge, like our last episode was a Gryffindor-Slytherin relationship, and then Twilight was, and Wonder Woman was. Rachel, like we were watching last night, and she's like, I'm tired of these fucking Slytherin Gryffindors. Like, I'm done with them.
It's so annoying. They're so, like, they're just so easy to clock at a certain point when you see how they act together. When you just see the dynamic together, like when they're having that conversation on their wedding night. Yeah, because I can tell you exactly
what it is. The Gryffindor is the simp, and the Slytherin eats that shit up. And then the Gryffindor understands that the way that the Slytherin shows them that they're the one person, the Gryffindor understands that that's what they're doing, and nobody else gets it. They're like, wow, your person isn't that into you at all. And they're like, no, you don't understand. Like, they're about to die for me. You just can't tell because they don't hug me.
Yeah, no, Jamie was easy. Jamie was an immediate. That was no question at all.
But that was the thing, just watching them together, if we had any convictions about what house Claire was in, seeing them together talk on their wedding night, how they both handled and discussed the wedding, like Jamie and gossiping
talked about their families
pantsless
for 5 hours, and then
yeah.
Well, she got him to talk about his family for 5 hours. Meanwhile, she didn't hardly say anything at all. Because
she did say she talked about her family, and then he tried to screw her like a horse, and she said, "No, you're going to look at me."
Yeah.
It would have to be a Gryffindor to get her to stay.
Yeah, that's
no
true.
other house could probably get her to stay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, there's a reason why she didn't end up going back to her husband.
Yeah, look at him.
Well, that's another reason. He's also very good in bed, supposedly, once he figures out how to not be a virgin anymore.
Go off, Jamie.
The quote of, I said I was a virgin, not a monk. If I find I need guidance, I'll ask. I'm like, boom. Cocky motherfucker.
The cockiness, even when you're not an expert on it, okay? Gryffindor asks, you don't actually know everything. Oh, yes, I do.
Yes, I can do it. It's so... in the barn. I can do this.
Every Gryffindor
so
that we've covered has had this.
Claire's so unbelievably cocky, too. Like,
yeah.
Slytherins have it, too. I'm telling you, they're very related houses. Very related.
Yeah. Yeah, you win. You win that fight. Fine.
Well,
is that I feel bad that we didn't argue about Jamie. So like, there's nothing to discuss.
Who's gonna put him in another house?
I'm not even gonna argue with the audience.
You could maybe possibly think for 2 seconds Hufflepuff because of loyalty to like his home and his clan and his family, but no.
He's chilling out with this other clan.
Yeah, no.
And he married this English chick?
I said he's been to university and war in France without them, traveled around with randoms for a while, now hanging out with the Mackenzies, ardently refuses to actually go home, because if he goes home, then, that's where they can find him.
And he's not, like, actually a part of the Mackenzies either. He's just, like, chilling, marrying a hot chick, getting sex. Like, he's not concerned.
I deserve this. Mother would be proud.
I said he is loyal to his home and his people, but he doesn't rely on them or need them emotionally. He has this person in Claire, and that's all he needs.
Yeah.
God, even the needing his mother's approval. That's so Gryffindor. The obsession with parental approval.
His mother is dead.
Yeah, no, I know.
She's
the way he was talking about her, though, I think she would have been proud. Because he brought her up a lot in that one episode. And then he even gave Claire her pearls. Like, it's just a common thing that I've noticed with Gryffindors. Just needing that.
Because they're simps.
Yeah.
Mommy boy.
Need the approval. I mean, Gryffindors need approval from everyone for everything all the time anyway. So.
Well, it's just that mid-sex he apologizes for hurting her and then stops because he thinks that she can't continue because he doesn't realize that women can have multiple orgasms. And then she's just like, no, let's keep going.
They're an entertaining pair.
Incredible. Gryffindor Slytherin is my favorite. I would argue, y'all don't come for me. I might have said this last week. I can't remember if I talked about it in the Bridgerton. I probably did say this in Bridgerton. Gryffindor Slytherin is my favorite romantic couple. I'm probably biased too because I am a Slytherin and I simp for Gryffindors, but it's my favorite.
No, I don't think
one.
so. I think they're just it's a funny match. They fit all the tropes that people like very easily. Like
that's true.
The cocky one, and then like the one who's just like, oh my
they
God,
can do enemies to lovers real well. Like
you get like weird. You get other houses fit together well romantically too, but that pairing just fits every AO3 trope. Like it's ridiculous. Just naturally fall into it. You don't have to mold anything.
I did have this that I wrote for Claire earlier that made me laugh that I just found. That says, she pulls an Edward, like, if I'm going to hell, I might as well enjoy the ride down. And then after getting initial nerves, just jumps in whole hog.
That sounds Slytherin too. Like, Edward's, like, angsting about it. He's like, I'm not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And then he's like, he, like, finally does it.
And go by movie Edward, he puts those sunglasses on for 1 second and he's like, I'm going to hell. You never see those sunglasses again, do you? Ever.
And it's not like he ever actually enjoys it once he like starts breaking it. It's like knife to his neck that he's doing the things that are actually fun.
Yeah. He really is the extremist Gryffindor.
I told you, he's all
Poor
the way
thing.
at the end of the spectrum. I don't even know if I could find somebody else that touched him. Especially after reading Midnight Sun, I'm like, what was this man? How is he?
Yeah, it's bad.
How is he
Oh my God. I did not want him. I love him, but I did not want him near my house. And I was like, fuck. Can't go anywhere else. Damn it. But I got a lot of Bella Swan vibes from Claire just because she's this like new hot commodity in town and everyone's obsessed with her, but she has more of a reason to be simped over than Bella Swan.
No, I think one of the things you said to me last night was like, brunette willowy girl shows up and a bunch of men and they're all over her ass. Like, brunette
Slytherin woman, you drop her in any time period in any universe, she's gonna be like very, very sought after.
See, Claire's actually a badass though, and fights for what she believes in and is, has a personality. Unlike
you saying Bella Swan doesn't have a personality?
I think Bella fought very hard to get venom injected into her bloodstream.
Yeah,
and to have
she's
that
like
abomination baby. I think she fought very hard.
She's very compelling in that khaki skirt, Hailee. I don't know.
Why would you do it? Last week, you were like, everybody's going to be so mad at me for the khaki skirt. Cut it out. And now you're saying it again.
You told me it was okay. Is it not okay?
No,
her khaki skirt's fugly. I don't care what you think.
See,
I hate it.
I think my biggest problem with trying to with putting Claire
in khaki chinos and beige sweatshirt. Sorry.
I think my biggest problem that I had putting Claire in Slytherin was because there are multiple other like Slytherin people that like stood out so much. Which, if you want, I can tell you exactly who they are, and why I think they are, but we aren't.
No, we might do this again.
But there are definitely like, let me look at my 1, 2, 3.
No, I know what you're saying. Somebody asked me to off the cuff.
4 other in like season 1 Slytherins that are
they're
like,
obvious Slytherins. They're not hidden Slytherins.
Somebody asked me off the cuff to do some like side character supernatural people earlier. And 2, I'm not going to sort them because maybe we will do them later. But 2 of the people she gave me, they were both Slytherins. And I hesitated to say the second one is Slytherin because the first one was super obvious, like typical evil calculating character. And then the second one was more like the woman we're seeing, where they're very focused on one person and have like really big ambition and like all that sort of thing. So I was like, I hate saying Slytherin for this just because these 2 people in a row are like wildly different, but they both are Slytherin. And I also don't like being like so oversaturated in house, but they are. They both are this. Like I can't do anything about it.
You are.
Yeah.
We don't like being too obvious. It's just sometimes there are obvious characters.
So I think that was like my biggest problem was I kept seeing these obvious Slytherins that were there, and I'm like, no. Especially compared to these people, like, no.
Right.
There is no way. And she was always so much more emotional than they were, and like quick to, now that I think about it, most of her emotion comes down to her anger and her rightness, which fits Slytherin.
Yeah.
But I kept seeing, I'm like, no, like, I'm seeing so much more emotion. I don't look at Claire and I don't see her as like overly ambitious, because she's not trying to like get anything other than get home. Like there's...
Where did your friend put her that you consulted?
We had the same issue of Ravenclaw versus Gryffindor. Both of us were there.
Just mash them and get a weird Slytherin.
It's not even that weird a Slytherin. That's basically a Slytherin.
It's, standard Slytherin. They all merge in some way.
Which makes sense. Which makes sense. Which is why I had such a problem trying to figure her out and hat stalled on her. Is because she is a mashup of a Ravenclaw and a Gryffindor, which equals out to be a Slytherin.
It can also be, we have been discovering this more and more. Like, we've already discovered this is like a common thing for Ravenclaws somehow, that they have this blind spot for one house. Like, it's specific to a person, but like every Ravenclaw that we've spoken to, like, doesn't interact or recognize at least one house. Like, I have a friend who doesn't have any Gryffindor friends, and I think it's just literally because she doesn't recognize them and then therefore doesn't interact with them. And then Rachel's husband like does not get Hufflepuffs. Like, he doesn't understand. But I also think I think that's a specific Ravenclaw thing, but I do think some people are like, what, like Rachel has a hard time understanding how Ravenclaw's brains work. Like, she gets it, but she's like, I don't get it. Like, it could be something like, I don't really understand why Slytherins are like this.
But no, see, I feel the same way about Ravenclaws, about like, I do have a lot of Ravenclaw friends, but I love you, but I don't understand how
you arrived at the choices you made.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and even if you do understand it, you're still like, how could you go through with it like that thinking? Like, I see how you got here. It's just so wildly different than probably how you or I would handle a situation.
Rachel was saying something to me. Rachel was saying something to me about George last night and was like saying how she didn't understand it or whatever. And she was saying all the right things, and I just put it in a different word, and she went, "Oh my God." she was like, "Okay, now I get it." Like, I just used a different word to describe what she was saying. Yeah.
It's different perspectives. I think it's healthy to have friends of all different houses, you know?
It's true.
You gotta know. You gotta change it up a little bit. You can't be in a house echo chamber. If I'm around too many Gryffindors for too long,
she who
can't
must
be around
not be
Gryffindors that
named, long. Trying to break down stereotypes, but she didn't do shit.
No.
I think if you put me and like Hannah together for too long, we'll start a fight club. Like, it'd be bad. You can't leave us unsupervised very long.
Hufflepuffs would never get anything done. We would never get anything done. It's why you never hear anything about them in the books, is because no one ends up ever doing anything, because no one actually stands up and says, "No, I'll do it." Because all of us are just like, no, you can do it. You can do it. I support you 100%. I'm there behind you. If you need help, I'm there. Like, the second you ask for me, I'm right there to do it. But I have to be the one to step up and no, I don't want to be the one in charge here. Like, no.
And then she put a generation of Death Eater kids in a dungeon together and was like, they'll be healthy.
And for Hufflepuffs, it's the I actually now am seeing the parent obsession too. This is an emotional house thing. Like, Hufflepuffs too, because you're talking about Hufflepuffs and they never get anything done. Except Cedric Diggory, who's manipulated by his father, so like really wants to please his dad. So
stop.
He was a Hufflepuff
Stop being
Nazi.
in my brain again.
No, because I get you. Okay, I'm in the same kind of house. I get it. It's terrible. I really, really wish I wasn't a Gryffindor.
Amos Diggory would have been a Death Eater. I don't know what else to tell you.
Okay, now we're getting into cursed child propaganda.
No, I don't even know. I don't even remember what happened in Cursed Child. I said this about Amos
He's
way
a
before
psycho.
that came out. What?
He's an asshole, and he would have been a Death Eater.
He absolutely would have. If they had let him in, he would have. But
yeah, they don't want his ass.
No. Anyway,
I wonder what his house was.
He was a Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff.
Amos was a Hufflepuff too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like super into that. That was the thing too. Like, that gave me Hufflepuff Nazi vibes. Like, how much pride he had in the fact that Cedric was also a Hufflepuff. Like, it was very, in a different way that the Weasleys were like, we're Gryffindors. Like, they accepted if their children wouldn't have been. But I feel like Amos would have been a little bit like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Cedric had been a Hufflepuff. But anyway, we're getting off track. Hailee.
Yes.
Where can we find you if people want to converse with you or yell at you? Have you created anything? Do you want to direct people to anything that you've done? Have you written fanfic? Have you made fan videos? Have you
no, I'm lazy.
Made any music?
I have made music. I have some friends who we do covers of things. Our name is called Hive Mind. And you can find us on Twitter. But
where? What's the handle?
At HiveMind_JHL.
Okay.
But if you want to find me and just yell at me, because I'm more than happy to converse about this and then cave to whatever your demands are. As you can see, then I am at Hailee_RN. You just have to spell it weird. Because my name is not spelled normally. My name is not spelled normally.
I thought you were going to spell your name.
No.
No,
Hailee will be tagged in the tweet when we release it.
Yes. And then you can see how weird she spells her name.
It's pretty.
It is pretty. It's very pretty.
And then you can go and yell at her and say, "What the hell do you mean? They were wrong. Claire was a Ravenclaw or Claire was a Hufflepuff." Yeah. And,
Claire
we can all have an argument together.
You can also listen. Hailee is actually a phenomenal singer. So she does really great covers. And her friends are good singers too. So I would recommend checking her out. You're welcome. Hailee's our biggest fan.
I am.
If you're our biggest fan, you could be on this podcast. But you have to rate us 5 stars first. Yeah, but we'll start asking you guys what you want to hear about from us. In the meantime, you should rate and subscribe and give us 5 stars and leave comments because they make our hearts happy. And if you liked shit sorting, let us know. If you liked Hailee, let us know. Maybe she can come back. If you like the
if you
guest
want to come
format,
on and
let us know.
Fight with us.
Yeah,
let us know.
Yeah, we have for her to concede to us.
Cave into
yes
other people's
But like we said last time, Rachel and I like having guests because we don't have to try very hard. And like you saw in this episode, it was just us yelling at Hailee about things we don't know anything about. So
Ravenclaws out there. Find us, please. We want to talk to you. Where are you found in media? Where do you see yourself?
Are you in love with or friends with a Hufflepuff? Let us know.
Yeah, please.
No, I do have. I don't know about anyone in love with me, but I do have.
If Ellie wants to be on the show, she's already a part of the show as the graphic designer. I think I told her
Ellie.
She wants to talk about 911, so maybe we'll do that.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yes.
Haley's like, I want to be on it.
I do too. Yes.
But we'll have all 4 houses if we do that.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Illy doesn't know anything about Harry Potter though.
That's fine. She knows she's a Ravenclaw. That's all she needs. So, Rachel, you want to close this out?
Sure. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you, Hailee, for being here. You were a great last sassenach.
Thank you.
I don't know if I used that correctly. I'm sorry, but it was so much fun having you here and getting your sorting expertise and knowledge with us. You were wonderful, so thank you.
I don't feel like an expert because I was wrong.
You were not wrong. You were correct
wrong.
Adjacent. We just,
Rachel
we all
and
got
I
there
also
together.
haven't yelled against each other since Jack Klein, which was episode 2. So
that's true.
I kind of almost wish that we had.
Adjacent.
You were correct adjacent. You were.
Yeah, you were almost there. You just had to smash them together. But
I'll smash them together. Anytime.
Anytime you need an annoying Gryffindor Slytherin pair to come and smash your thinking into the right direction, you know where to find us. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Sort of Brilliant. If our sorting choices inspired any rage or excitement, we'd love to hear from you. We're open to feedback, suggestions for characters to sort, and solid counter-arguments with citations.
Never forget your citations. You can find us hanging out on Twitter and Instagram at SOB_pod or shoot us an email at sortofbrilliant@gmail.com.
And since we're not above begging, please rate and subscribe to Sort of Brilliant on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please share our posts on social media. And if you're a Gryffindor, maybe you'll inspire sorting fights among your own friend group.
The theme music is Hot Shot by Scott Holmes. Can't wait to sort with you again next time. Bye!